Welcome to Sports Talk with RKJ. I'm your host, Steve Risser, along with my co-host, Justin D'Onofrio and Kyle Galuli. And Week 11 of the NFL season is upon us, and we got a big divisional matchup on Thursday night. This game is definitely going to mean the season for the Cleveland Browns. This is an absolute must-win for this football team as they host the Pittsburgh Steelers. And what we saw from the Browns a little bit last week is they started to find a little bit of their identity. They find their identity a little bit running the ball with Nick Chubb. Baker did target Odell a little bit more, but I think what the Browns need to do is they need to start running the football successfully, and I think that's going to be big for this team in the second half of the season, especially with their schedule softening up and playing a good amount of home games in Cleveland and in inclement weather. So I think the Browns really need to focus on running the football, and this is a big game. On the Steelers side, their defense has played really well. I mean, TJ Watt's been great. Bud Dupree's played well. Cam Hayward's played well. Minka Fitzpatrick has been a great pickup. I criticize them for giving that first round pick, but he's been a great pickup for them. 5 touchdowns already.
Yeah, could be in the running for the defensive player of the year.
I think this is going to be a really good, close NFC North matchup, a really competitive game. But at the end of the day, I am going to take the Browns to win this game. I think they're going to run the ball with Nick Chubb. I think the one weakness of the Steelers' defense this year has been their run defense. I think Nick Chubb goes for over 100 yards. I think they mix Kareem Hunt in the run game too, so I think they get over 100 yards rushing, and that sets up play action for Baker Mayfield. And yes, he hasn't had a good season at all, but that's where Baker Mayfield works best. And I think the Browns' defense gets pressure on Mason Rudolph. I think James Conner gets his yards on the ground, but I think they get pressure on Mason Rudolph, and I can't see Mason Rudolph winning five in a row. That's why I got the Browns winning this game Thursday night, 23-17 over the Steelers.
I am going with the Steelers Thursday night. I got them winning 21-17. And one of the reasons why, because usually I like picking games, is only 3 Thursday night teams who have been favored I've covered this year. The Jags week 2, Patriots week 6, the Chiefs week 7. So 3 out of the 10 favorites have covered. So I'm going to go with the road dog. I do, and it looked like, including defense, it looks like they started to get things going the last 2 weeks. No turnovers, and they've only had combined 9 penalties, where for the first 7-8 games they were combined. They're averaging about 7-8 penalties a game. So it seems like they're starting to figure things out. Nick Chubb starting to run well. He got over 100 yards last week at Buffalo. They had a nice comeback win. I thought Buffalo was going to hang on and beat them, but they came down the field, had a nice game-winning drive. And then this Steelers defense right now has been, and yeah, I think all 3 of us are kind of criticizing what Minka Fitzpatrick move. But they knew what they were doing. They figured, let's just shore up the defense and just make our defense dominate.
The Steelers are known for.
Just looks like the old Steelers mentality defense, And they forced 4 turnovers last week. Goff threw 3 interceptions, so they look great. Nice home win, and I like what they're doing with Rudolph. Just short passes, not trying to hit him with the deep ball, and it's worked. So I'm going to take the Steelers to go on the road and win.
Yeah, the Steelers are running, it seems like, the ultimate dink and dunk offense. Yeah. Then saw something like Mason Rudolph might be last, if not, close to it, and how far the ball is going in the air, per pass. And I mean, you have, Connor, you still have Juju, who's, I think, not all the way there yet, but still in the process of figuring out how to be the number 1 receiver and facing double teams, which obviously when, AB was there, everyone's double teaming Antonio Brown all day, every day. Like, we know he's going to get the double team. But if you're the Browns, like you said, this is going to be essentially, I feel like if you lose this game, you're not making playoffs, nor do you really deserve to make playoffs if you lose to this team who's right now, Tomlin easily could be the coach of the year, because look at what he lost. Big Ben, after the Patriots game was done, or if not the game after, he lost Big Ben really quick. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell's not there. Obviously, AB is not there, and it's just been big injury or losing. Your players via free agency or trade or whatever it is. Even for a little bit, he lost Mason Rudolph on that, vicious hit to his head, which was surprising. He's coming back that quick. But if you're Cleveland, like you said, they found out. I think they even kind of found that out a little bit going back to the game in the Foxborough against the Patriots. Chubb in that game, I think, had roughly 120, but he had the two fumbles, which is kind of what ended up, doing them in the long run was the 3 straight turnovers. But if they can stop the fumbles, which I've put that more on just the weather kind of being pretty bad, and also, I mean, it was bad luck on what was it, Joe Antonio kicking the ball out of Chubb's hand. I mean, what can Chubb do about it? I'm not putting that on him. If you figure that out and you just lessen the turnovers, I think in the long run, if you just more play a ball control offense, and then you can just force the Steelers and Mason Rudolph into turnovers, you'll end up winning the game instead of trying to put up points like you're the Chiefs, which this offense, if you're the Browns, is not the Chiefs.
We got a great matchup on Sunday afternoon of two of the best young quarterbacks in the game, and you got Deshaun Watson of the Texans and Lamar Jackson of the Ravens. And I think this is going to be a really good game. I think the one strength the Texans have is have been very good at stopping the run this year. Yes, J.J. Watt is out, but they've been very good at stopping the run this year, and that's what the Ravens want to do best. And I think they're going to be able to contain that run game, and I think they're going to be able to contain the run game of the Ravens. And I think they're going to force Lamar Jackson to try to beat them from the pocket. And Lamar Jackson, as good as he is, and yes, he's an MVP candidate, he's not a top 5 quarterback, and that's a fact. And he's not a great pocket passer. And Deshaun Watson is the better pocket passer. Yes, they both can move around. And in the NFL today, yes, you can't just be a drop back quarterback like Josh Rosen, Andy Dalton, Joe Flacco, or Eli Manning. That doesn't work anymore in the NFL. But you have to have some mobility. But also, you got to be able to win from the pocket. And I think that Lamar Jackson is a better pocket passer than Lamar Jackson. I think Deshaun Watson is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson, and I think the better quarterback is going to win this game close. I got the Texans winning this game 27-23 over the Ravens, and Deshaun Watson is better than Lamar Jackson. I'll tell you why. I think he's a better pocket passer than Lamar. Yes, they both can move. They're both really good quarterbacks, both got really good arms, but I think that Deshaun Watson is better from the pocket than Lamar Jackson, and that's my biggest reason why Deshaun Watson is better than Lamar Jackson, and that's why the Texans are going to beat the Ravens this week.
I have the Ravens winning, but I do have the Texans covering. I have it at 4. I think the Ravens get the win 24-21. I think Lamar goes down. They kick a game with field. But this should be a great game. This should be a fun one to watch. And yeah, I think the Texans are going to be able to have success, but you got to make sure, you're going to have to spy on Jackson the whole time. You cannot lose sight of him for a second or he'll be gone. And it's just, watching Ravens offense is like it's just like playing a video game. It's just doing all, what they do with Jackson.
Cheat code at quarterback.
Yeah, it seems like it is with this, with this Ravens offense. It's been fun to watch, and I think we all underestimated what Lamar Jackson could do, and what Jim Harbaugh has done with that offense is just,
it's
to
smart.
The strength of his QB.
Yeah, he's adapting.
Yeah, and
which is
that's
what you should do.
Yeah, and he's done a great job, and I think at home, I think if it's Houston, I'd definitely give it to the Texans, but I think at home, I think Baltimore will be able to pull it out.
I think I'll go with the Texans as well. I think whoever wins, I think will be by no more than 3 points. I feel like the Texans, they'll win by 3 for the fact of like Steve said, that right now, I mean, is Lamar Jackson higher in MVP running than Deshaun Watson? Yes, because right now it's probably Russell and Lamar. But obviously, Deshaun Watson can beat you from the pocket where Lamar Jackson can't really beat you from the pocket. It's more of his legs opening up the run game for, Mark Ingram. And then, because, on the goal line, there was the one, I think it was the first touchdown that Lamar got against the Patriots. If you ran that every single time, how would you ever stop it? Because it's you got to crash down Ingram because you only need a yard or two. And then if you did crash down like the Patriots did, boom, Lamar Jackson, And there was one of the big plays against, going back to when they played the Patriots, I think it was that big catch that Mark Andrews had over, might have been Terrence Brooks, if I'm not mistaken. But it was running around roughly the 40-yard line, let's say. They put Jonathan Jones on a spy on this guy. That's how much it means. You literally put your fastest guy in your whole team, period. That's a corner, which you never put corners on spies. You never do that. It's always, most not, I'll say linebackers, maybe safeties in a sub package, come 3rd and long, let's say. But they put a corner on there. So that shows you how much it means. And if you're the Ravens, their offense is so unique because it feels like it's a mixture of old school football with 3 tight ends, because they have Nick Boyle, who's solid, Hayden Hurst, who's solid, and I really like Mark Andrews. I think he's going to be something pretty nice. We have 3 tight ends, and then you mix in, the run game, like, let's say 70s, 80s football, but you put that new school, like, spread twist on it, being in shotgun, mixing in read options, mixing in, regular design quarterback runs, mixing in jet sweeps with, Hollywood Brown. And the offense is just so unique that people just don't know how to stop it. And I think really it's going to be a true test of how this offense is come playoff time, because people get to see more than once. They have tape on you and they have time to focus specifically on you. That's our one thing. But I think this game right now, I'll take Deshaun Watson right now over Lamar.
Yes, I agree with you there, Kyle. So we have the Cowboys heading up to Detroit to face the Lions, and I don't care if Matthew Stafford plays or not. The Cowboys will win this game. Zeke is going to eat. He's going to run for. I don't like saying the Cowboys are going to definitely win, because you know how much I hate the Cowboys. But
hurts your inner Giants fan.
But Zeke's going to eat. He's going to have a huge game. I think Dak Prescott will have a huge game throwing the ball. This isn't one of those games that Jason Garrett could screw up like last week. I think that
what's a game Jason Garrett couldn't screw up?
Exactly. Yeah, but
he almost did it for a half against the Dolphins.
No, they're clearly better than the Lions. I mean, they might get off to a slow start. The Lions might be ahead early, but the Cowboys will end up winning this game, and they get pressure. Even if no matter who plays, Stafford or Jeff Driscoll, they get pressure on them. I think the Lions don't have a running game, so they shut that down. Lions can't stop the run. Their defense has been one of the worst defenses in the league this year, and I got the Cowboys winning this game. And if Matthew Stafford plays, I think it'll be more of a blowout if Stafford doesn't play. But if Matthew Stafford plays, I got the Cowboys winning 31-20 Sunday afternoon in Detroit.
Yeah, I have the Dallas winning this one. I got the same score, 31-20. If Stafford plays, I think the Lions have a chance to make this a one-score game, have a chance late. Because the Lions they've played a lot of close games. They got out to a kind of a fast start against the Bears last week. They jumped up to a 10-0 lead, I think it was, and then kind of just fell apart. You kind of let the Bears score 20 points on you. It's not a great look with their offense. But I think the big bounce pass game for the Cowboys after that disappointing loss, and I don't know why the Dallas Cowboys are trying to waste out the clock Sunday night with running the ball. I have to say, that was the worst play. I don't get on play calling much. That was the worst play call of the entire season, because that play call costed a team a game. I don't get how you can fear Kirk Cousins in the 2-minute drill. I mean, at worst, he's getting a field goal there. He's not scoring. They're not going to touch it. I know they have all 3 timeouts left, and they maybe wanted to run the ball to run off some time. But how do you fear Kirk Cousins in prime time driving down the field to get a field goal against an offense your pass rush can beat their offensive line? So yeah. I don't understand that at all. That call costed the Cowboys a game. That was the worst play call of the season by Jason Garrett.
Which specific one are we talking?
The one where he ran the ball on 3rd and 2. That was the worst play call of the season. I mean, you look at the Vikings completely contained Ezekiel Elliott all game long, and Dak Prescott had a great game against the Vikings defense. Yeah,
I think 3 yards short of 400.
Yeah, it was I don't know why they want to take the ball out of Dak's hands, but that's a Jason Garrett move. I didn't like the Vikings on that 1st down where they ran the toss and they almost fumbled it. I was like, oh my, they almost got the scoop and score.
Yeah,
I was like, that wasn't the greatest play call either.
Let's just say those are 2 teams that are in the playoffs, but they're pretenders.
Oh yes, I'm not going to take them getting past a wild card.
Yeah, I'll say that one play call on the 3rd down. I'll say you're saying it's the worst. I'll say it's right there with that, and then the Browns play calling on the goal line against the Rams, where you're running 5 wide with like 3 timeouts, and a running back by the name of Nick Chubb. Yeah, just saying.
That was another bad one.
Yeah,
but,
that was grade A stupidity.
Yeah, I think Dallas will be able to get back to this game. I think they'll be able to get this one. I think Zeke's having a big day on the ground after being contained last week, and Dallas will probably win by 2 scores if there's no Stafford.
Oh yeah, if you gotta win this game right now. Like established, even though I think you can finally say this is Dak's team. It's not Zeke's team, and he's helping out Dak. I mean, right now, every game that they don't pay Dak, what's that price tag doing? Up. And I'm not saying, obviously, he's not Mahomes level. I'm not saying that. But that price tag is going to keep climbing up. And I think if you're the Chiefs, you're kind of hoping that they pay Dak sooner rather than later. Because if his price tag keeps going up, whatever he gets, let's say he gets 35. Mahomes is probably going to ask for at least 40. And yeah, you got to pay the man. You got to do what you got to do. But right now, establish Zeke, have him to go after that Lions defense, which has not been good against the run, and just have Lawrence and the rest of that pass rush go up against, whether it's Stafford, who has had a pretty, good year so far. He's not really been that traditional turnover prone, throwing bad interceptions type of guy. But if you can force him in that, maybe force him in some old habits, or if you face Jeff Driscoll's their backup, I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence should just be able to destroy him all day. Him and the turnovers, the Cowboys should win this by 2 scores.
We got an NFC South matchup in Tampa Bay as the Saints try to avenge a loss last week against the Falcons, and the Bucs try to win 2 in a row. And I think this game is going to be a really competitive game because I think the Buccaneers have been great against the run this year. They've been probably one of the best run defenses in the league with Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh.
Oh, yeah.
I think they shut down the run game, but I think the biggest difference in this game is there's no one in that secondary. I don't care what kind of coverage. I don't care if they double cover them. I don't care if they play cover 2. I don't care what kind of coverage Todd Bowles tries to play. They are not going to be able to stop Michael Thomas, who's a top 5 receiver in this league. He's going to have a huge game. I think Drew Brees throws for over 300 yards. I think Michael Thomas has a big game. I think they use Alvin Kamara in the run game. And I think that the Saints put up some points, but I do think Tampa Bay puts up points too. I think Mike Evans has a huge game due to Marshawn Lattimore being hurt. So you're going to see Mike Evans and Michael Thomas have huge games for both teams. But at the end of the day, I think the Saints win a close one. I got the Saints beating the Bucs 27-24.
I got the Saints win this one 35-27 on the road. I think with yeah, I know without Lattimore it's going to be kind of tough for the Saints. I'm a little worried about that because the Bucs played well last week, and they only lost by, I think it was 6 or 7 when they went to New Orleans a couple weeks ago. But I think after coming
they lost by 7, 31-24.
Yeah, I know it was a close competitive game. But I think coming off the way the Saints played last Sunday against the Falcons, I think you come out and see a really good performance. They had 12 penalties, gave up 6 sacks.
Yeah, it can't get much worse.
No, it can't. And I think they come back and bounce back and have a big day. I think they do enough. I think they forced Jameis to make some turnovers. Evans will probably have a big day with no Lattimore, but I think Jameis will make a mistake or two, and the Saints will be able to win 35-27 on the road.
Yeah, I think if you're the Saints, you got to show that was just, some odd fluke. Because I think right now, that game for them against the Falcons and earlier in the season when Cleveland destroyed the Ravens, those might be the 2 outliers of the season. Because obviously, I don't think anyone's going to say Cleveland's remotely close to the talent, the Ravens. And the same thing for the Falcons. They're not remotely close to the Saints. Somehow the Saints just look completely inept. I mean, you lose 26-9, score 9 points against the Falcons defense, which has just been terrible. In New Orleans, that's all the way. That's bad. But right now, if you're saying you just get back on track, maybe you might have to focus on more of the run game, which they've past couple of years they've become more of. I'll tell you, I don't know if it's exactly 50-50, but I do want to focus on that and have mix in the play action, get to play the. I mean, I just don't understand how I understand Michael Thomas is ridiculously good, but this man already through 9 games has 1,000 yards and 86 catches. So he's on pace for roughly 160 catches and maybe 1,700 roughly, if my math probably not right, but that's insane. And in fact, I keep saying over and over and over again, they really don't have a bona fide number 2 weapon. I mean, Jared Cook's solid. He can give you something, but he's not a number 2. What the other receivers, Ted Ginn, Traquan Smith, they're not number 2. And somehow this man is constantly open or making tests. It's next level stuff that you're seeing right now. With the Bucs, what I do love that Arians did, I don't know if you guys heard, I know he's not that good now, but they released Vernon Hargreaves for the sole fact of he wasn't hustling. They said that he wasn't hustling, so they're like, bye. And that's what I like to see from a head coach. Listen, you're not hustling, you're not on this team. I think that shows right then and there for everyone on there, because he was a former first round pick. Well, it's not like he was, just some seventh round scrub that they got, just in hopes of something happening. So that establishes what you want in your locker room and on your team, but they're not gonna be able to get it done. I think the Saints will win it by 10 points.
We have an interconference matchup in Minnesota as the 3-6 Broncos travel to Minnesota to face the 7-3 Vikings, and I think this is a typical 1:00 game for Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has a really good. I know the Vikings defense is good, but I think the Broncos defense is good, but I think Kirk Cousins has a big game. Dalvin Cook has a big game. Kirk Cousins throws for 300 and 3 touchdowns, and I think the defense absolutely shuts down the Broncos offense. I think the Vikings defense shuts them down. I got the Vikings winning this one big, 31-13 over the Broncos.
I get the Vikings winning this one 21-10. I think the Broncos are able to keep them in the game. The offense isn't going to be able to get much going because they did a great job. The Vikings did a great job last week against Ezekiel Elliott on the ground. Zeke really did nothing at all. I think Cousins plays well, but Denver's fourth in the league against the pass. So I think, they hang in there, and Adam Thielen's still questionable, right? So he's still questionable.
Yeah, I think he's still questionable.
So, you don't have him. You still got Diggs, and Rudolph had those two touchdowns the other night. But I just think if Denver had a little bit better offense, I think they could make this a one-score game, but Viking defense didn't shut them down.
Yeah, I have the Vikings win this by 14, essentially for the same reason you said. Their defense is playing, Broncos side is playing very good. It's just the offense, it's so inconsistent. Like some games they can get like something going, some games they're just completely, they might as well just punt the ball on first down and have the defense play. It just it's pretty bad. I mean, I wish Phil Lindsay could get something going because on my fantasy team and I kind of need him right now. But if you're the Vikings, like it's the traditional Kirk Cousins game. It's 1 o'clock. He'll probably throw for 350. Dalvin Cook, wouldn't surprise me if he could get 100 scrimmage yards, because the last game I'm saying, didn't he have like 97 yards rushing and then like maybe something like 77 receiving? So I mean, right now I think you could make an argument that Dalvin Cook might be one of the best, if not the best back in the league, other than maybe McCaffrey over him right now. But, I mean, he is playing insanely good. And that is just opening up what is perfect for Kirk Cousins. Play action, getting it to Thielen when he's healthy, getting Stephon Diggs in the red zone, mixing with play action. They bite on it. You throw the little jump ball to Kyle Rudolph, touchdown Vikings. But right now, I'll have the Vikings win by 14.
We have a AFC South. No, we have an NFC South matchup in Carolina as the Falcons take on the Panthers, and I got an upset here. I think Atlanta's going to continue their momentum. I think they're going to contain Christian McCaffrey. This defense has been terrible all year. Showed up last week and played really well because they got some players in this defense with Deion Jones, with Grady Jarrett, who's had a really good year, with Vic Beasley, who hasn't been playing that well recently but played well last week. So they have some players on this defense, and I think that I'm taking an upset here. I think that they contain Christian McCaffrey and they get pressure on Kyle Allen, and I think on offense, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley have a big day in the passing game, and I got the upset here. I'm going 23-20 Falcons to upset the Panthers. I'm not ready to give the Falcons yet. They played unbelievable last week. I don't know if it was a fluke or what. I think that's what not as good as they played, but I think we thought they'd be good last year. I don't think any of us thought they were going to go to New Orleans, even if they were 5-3 and go win by.
I thought they were going to get blown out going into that. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, so they impressed me last week. The defense, they got 6 sacks, and I think they probably rushed Breeze 10, 11 times. They really got after Breeze. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to have a big day because the Falcons are 20th against the run. I think McCaffrey could have a big day. That was a tough loss last week. It looked like, I didn't mind that play calling at the goal line as the last play anyways. Give it to your best player.
I think you can honestly make a solid argument that he actually got in there.
It was close.
It's the traditional call of, you call it that he's not in, there's no way you're overturning that. You call that he made it, there's no way you're overturning that.
Yeah, but that's a close one. And for the Falcons, too, this is their second game, and they play, I think it's 4 times they played a divisional opponent. They still have 3 weeks after this against all divisional opponents. Last week is the first time they played a division opponent all year, which is weird that late in the season. So, but I still think Carolina at home will get it done 20-21.
Yeah, I have Carolina when I have the same score as you, 28-21. It's so fast. The Falcons' offense right now, passing wise, is averaging 319 yards. Problem is, Panthers' defense against the pass. It's actually, relatively good. Averaging just giving up just a hair under 250. The problem is their run defense is giving up 136. So would you be willing, and again, this thing I always say is, are willing to adapt your offense from game to game? Are you willing to be more of a, not want to say run heavy and be like, run 60% past 40, but maybe mix it in, maybe be like, 45-55 or 50-50 and exploit the run defense of the Panthers, which will open up deep balls to Julio, Calvin Ridley, and the rest of their crew. But I just don't think they're going to do it. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch Deion Jones on Christian McCaffrey, with him, running routes, because Christian McCaffrey, I think right now is the best route runner for a running back. Like, just give him the option. Like, if you just have him soloed up on a linebacker and have him run the option route, how do you cover that man? I mean, he gives you a little move to the right, he'll go to the left. If you lean to the right, you lean to the left, boom, he's going right. Like, and there's just no way to cover it. And Colin is doing enough, being able to distribute the ball enough where you can just keep the chains moving and not be, constant, 3 and out. And with his consistency in terms of just completion percentage is what I think is helping the Panthers out, which is always the problem we had said before with Cam. He was never consistent enough with his passing. But right now, I'm going to take the team with the best player on the field, and that's Christian McCaffrey, and I think that they win by 7.
Got an AFC South matchup in Indianapolis as Nick Foles returns from injury as the 4-5 Jags face the 5-4 Colts. And if this pick's going to change for me, because if Brissett starts, I'm definitely picking the Colts. But if Nick Foles starts, if Brian Hoyer starts, I'm picking the Jaguars, because Brian Hoyer is he is the worst starting quarterback in the league. He was absolutely terrible last week against the Dolphins. Yeah, and I'm taking. But if he starts, and I think it's going to be Brian Hoyer, I think Brissett's going to miss the game. That's why I'm taking the Jags. I think the Jags have some success running the ball with Fournette. I think they have some success getting the ball to DJ Shark, and I think Nick Foles manages the game. And I think defensively, the Jaguars will have a pretty easy day against. I know their defense isn't as good, but they'll have an easy day against Brian Hoyer, because he's absolutely terrible. I'm going to go 20-10 Jacksonville over Indianapolis if Brian Hoyer plays. If Jacoby Brissett plays, I'll go 27-24 Colts.
Yeah, same thing. The Jags, I mean, if Brissett does not play, I get the Jags winning this one 20-14. If Brissett does play, I think the Colts win 21-17. When you lose the Miami Dolphins at home, you're down 10-0 at halftime. Brian Hoyer, the definition of a journeyman. He looked better against the Steelers last week. He looked better. It looked like he better with no reps with the first team. He looked like he was a little bit better than what we saw last week against the Dolphins. And I think the Jags now with Nick Foles back, I think, open up a little bit more. Because the Jags just absolutely flat in London against Houston. I think Jags are able to run the ball with Fournette. I think they'll have decent, some success. They'll time of possession. They'll use Fournette, and I'm going to go with the Jags. Close one if there's no Brissett.
Right there with you guys. If the Brissett plays, I'll take the Colts by 3. But if he doesn't play, I think that I'll say that Jacksonville will win by 7. First of all, you said Brian Hoyer, I mean, the fact that you lost to the Dolphins, which I understand the Dolphins still play hard, even though they have minimal talent on that team. But they just, they play hard game after game after game. In fact, that was probably I'll say the worst performance of the season so far was them against the Dolphins, because I think people thought of them as maybe like one of those tier 2 teams in the AFC in terms of not a Super Bowl contender, but if you had to play them in a playoff game, they're not going to be an easy out. It's going to be a rough game to go against them. I mean, then you put that performance against the Dolphins. That just at that point, no, I'm done with that. You gotta show me that that's not the kind of team you are, and that you are one of those tough out kind of teams. But right now you get Nick Foles back, you mix in Fournette, you start seeing some DJ Shark, some play action, seeing some big plays on the field. It's going to be interesting because the offensive line for the Colts, I feel like is one of the better ones, especially when you see Quentin Nelson. That guy is just all world talent right now.
I mean, the Colts and Andrew Luck, they'd probably be undefeated.
Yeah. Or in the field, they'd be. I think if they had Andrew Luck, you could put them right there as a Super Bowl contender in the AFC.
Absolutely. They're my Super Bowl pick before Andrew Luck got hurt.
Yeah, and then what was it, the next day or two, it was he retired. It's just every Colts fan was like,
yeah.
Well, not like that, but that's the only thing you could say. But you have that. Unfortunately with Tanam being there. So then you have the backup. Brissett can only do so much if he plays. Hoyer can do minimal if he plays. And it's going to be interesting to see this pass rush of the Jacksonville against the Colts line. We're going to see which one gives. I think in a come long run, it's going to be the Colts O-line, and that Jacksonville will win by 7.
We have the two young quarterbacks battling in Washington this week as the Jets traveled down to Landover, Maryland to face the Redskins. We got Sam Darnold, Dwayne Haskins, and they announced on Tuesday, it announced on Monday, Dwayne Haskins would be the starter the entire season.
At least they finally committed to something.
Exactly.
Hallelujah.
I think both quarterbacks played decent games this week. I think Sam Darnold has a pretty good game this week. So does Dwayne Haskins. I think Dwayne Haskins will have a good game. I don't think that the Redskins will get the run game going. I think Dwayne Haskins will have a good game getting the ball to Terry McLaurin. And I think Sam Darnold will have a good game because the Redskins secondary has struggled. So has the Jets outside of Jamal Adams. But I think a player like Jamal Adams might end up being the difference. He might be able to force a turnover from Dwayne Haskins. And I think Sam Darnold makes a little bit more plays than Dwayne Haskins. And I got the Jets winning their second straight. I got the Jets beating the Redskins and going to 3-1 against having all three of their wins, going to 3-1 against the NFC East and having all three of their wins being NFC East teams. I got the Jets winning 24-20 this week against the Redskins.
Yeah, I got the Jets taking this one. I got it winning 27-17, and it's weird that they're actually a dog. It's weird that they're going out because the Jets played a little bit better. That was actually one of the funner games to watch all weekend. The Jets-Giants game.
Yeah, that was pretty.
You liked watching that game?
I watched it a little bit. Yeah, I watched some of that. It was a good game. It was a toilet bowl. But.
Yeah, you have two teams that aren't going to do anything, and it was pretty exciting. I think it's one of the things where like they realize, what are we? There's really no pressure on them because if we lose, okay, add that to the resume,
Yeah.
But they just played their tails off, and that was fun.
Yeah, they played well, and I think I worry about the Redskins with this game is that the Jets are second against the run in the league, so I think the problem is I don't think they're going to be able to get AP going on the ground, and I think they're going to have to use Haskins. I think it's going to be a struggle if they can't get that run game going against them. And, for the Jets, they were no turnovers for Darnold last week, which is a positive. They got to get Bell going, though. It's just, they used a lot for they got to, they spent a lot for him. They have not really been able to get him going.
Yeah, and not helping out my fantasy team.
Yeah, so I think, this could be a game where a breakout game on the ground for him. So I'm going to go with the Jets 27-17 on the road.
Yeah, I'll have the Jets win by 7 for the sole fact of, like you said, Justin, they're good against the run. Defensive wise, so that means you're gonna have to put it more in Haskins' hands, I think, come second half, so when you can see some turnovers. And at Washington, their run defense, giving up 136 yards per game. Hopefully, you can mix in Le'Veon Bell, just give him the ball and mask some of Sam Darnold's deficiencies that we've seen this year, which have not seen that much good, other than I guess the 2 wins. Because they won against the Giants and then against Giants and Dallas. There are only 2 games he's played good. Other than that, when he has played, it really has not been that good. It's been I think
first half pretty won against the Bills and then they collapsed. I think he wasn't bad that first half.
Yeah, it's just like it's been. It's unfortunate because you never want to see like something that happened, especially with that sickness that you had with mono. You don't want to see that, but I think it unfortunately kind of just wasted his sophomore season. It feels like it was just over before it even started. And although I do think they're going to win, I don't think Sam Darnold's going to be a big piece of it. He'll be more of a game manager this game. Now, hopefully, Le'Veon Bell can get a big game and exploit the run defense of Washington. But I think that the Jets will win this game. I'll say it's going to be. I think it could maybe be a similar game to their game against the Giants. We're not expecting much from both teams, and it could be an exciting game. But I think that the Jets will win the game by 7.
We got an AFC East matchup down in Miami as the 6-4 Buffalo Bills travel down to Miami to face a team that's won 2 in a row, the Miami Dolphins. And here's and this is gonna be an upset. I think with the effort Brian Flores' team has played, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I really like the effort they played. They played with on the defensive side of the ball. I think they contain this Bills offense. I think they contain the running game. I think Josh Allen has a little bit of a rough game down in Miami, and I think this Dolphins, if it's Fitzpatrick or Rosen, we don't know who's going to start yet. I think they have a decent game, and I like the way Brian Flores has been as a head coach this year. I think he's changing the mold of head coaches now. I don't think they're going to you look at the difference between him and Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor's is kind of like this Sean McVay guy, this offensive genius, and it's completely fallen apart in Cincinnati. I think
he'll be gone after his season.
Yeah. I think Brian Flores has done a really, really, even though they're 2-7, he's done a pretty good job in Miami. And I think because I think he manages the game and he's a leader of men instead of just being an offensive guru. And I like the Dolphins in this game. I like the Dolphins to upset the Bills. Are 6-3. That was my bad, but I like the Dolphins to upset the Bills this week in Miami. I'm going Dolphins 20, Bills 17 in an upset.
I have the Dolphins covering. I think the Bills are able to squeak it out though, 21-20. I don't, when they played in Buffalo 3 weeks ago, I think it was, they played hard and they were in that game the whole time, and it surprised me. And since that day, Dolphins have won 2 straight. And imagine they got that 2-point conversion against the Redskins. They're sitting there 3-6 right now.
I guess it was 4 weeks ago when they lost 31-21. So
so they kept it close. I think they were a 17-point dog going in that game. So hey, they covered, but. You go on the road and you beat the Colts last week, and then the week before that, you take down the Jets at home. You get the coach that you guys fired. He comes back with the Jets, and you knock him off. And I think they're able to keep it close. Patrick's been playing well. They held the Colts in the red zone to 1-5 last week, so I think they could have 6. They've been good again in the red zone. They forced 3 turnovers as well. That was something they haven't done all year. I think they only had 7 or. I think they only have 7 or no, they have 10 now. So they got like a third of that last week. But I think the Bills come back, and I think they do squeak this one on the road, 21-20.
Yeah, I have the Bills winning this by 3 for the fact of their pass defense is so good. I think you can force. I'm assuming it's going to be Fitzpatrick starting at. You could possibly force him into a couple turnovers, and the fact of that Miami's run defense is giving up 146 yards per game, and I feel like that's the strength of the Bills offense, is running it with Frank Gore, and then mixing in some Josh Allen runs, whether it's design run, read options, scrambling, whatever it is. That's the strength of Josh Allen's game right now, obviously because he's inconsistent passing, but he is able to run the ball definitely when it's necessary. But if you're the Bills right now, if you want to be contenders in the AFC, which let's be honest, they're not, but if you want to pretend that you're contenders, you got to beat the Dolphins, 1. And I feel like 2, you got to beat the Dolphins, I'll say by a minimum of 10 points, because if you beat the Dolphins by 3, okay, cool, you beat the Dolphins by 3. It's the Dolphins. They're not good. They have minimal talent, although they're, like I said before, they do play hard for their head coach. But if you're in Buffalo, you need to just establish what kind of team you're going to be. Are you going to be like a ball control offense with a kind of the dominant defense type, or do you want to open it up a little bit more for Josh Allen? If I'm the head coach, I'm doing the first, because right now Josh Allen he's not consistent enough. And if you make Josh Allen pass, he will turn the ball over and he will end up losing you the game at some point. Although don't think it will happen against the Dolphins, because they're the Dolphins. But I think that the Bills will win this game by a single score.
All right, we got the one everyone's been waiting for, the rematch of Super Bowl 52, where
I'm not salty.
Where the Eagles won their first Super Bowl, beating the Patriots, and they face off this week in Philadelphia. Got Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the game. It should be a really good game, and I think this game is going to be totally different from the Super Bowl. I think this is going to be more of a defensive struggle, and here's why. I think the Patriots on offense are going to struggle running the ball, because we have to go up against. I don't think anybody on this Patriots offensive line can block Fletcher Cox. I think they're going to have trouble with Brandon Graham. And Patriot fans sure remember Brandon Graham for that strip sack in the Super Bowl to clinch the game. Yes, and I think
put Brandon Graham on Newhouse. If you're the Eagles, I mean, please don't. But for the love of God, if you're an Eagles defensive coach, be like, hey, Newhouse, meet Brandon Graham.
But I think the Patriots will struggle running the football. But where I think the Patriots will have success is through the air. I think that Tom Brady is going to have a pretty good game. I think he'll get the ball, because the Eagles secondary is absolutely terrible.
They get N'Keal Harry for the first time.
Yeah, they'll get N'Keal Harry. They got Julian Edelman. They got Mohamed Sanu. So I think Brady does throw a couple touchdown passes and throws for close to 300 yards. But on the other side of the ball for the Patriots, I think that the Eagles will have some success running the ball with Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard. But I think the pressure on Carson Wentz, and the Eagles really have nobody outside of Zach Ertz, no receiver that really scares you, because they're going to put Bill's going to put Alshon Jeffrey on Stephon Gilmore. They're probably going to try to limit Zach Ertz's production, and it's going to all come.
I'd say JC.
I go Gil, just like in the Super Bowl after Alshon Jeffrey had the touchdown. I'm putting Stephon Gilmore on Alshon Jeffrey, and then you try to limit Zach Ertz's production, maybe maybe double him with the linebacker and a safety, and then you pretty much put it down to Wentz trying to get the ball to guys like try to get the ball to like Nelson Aguilar and Dallas Goedert, and that is definitely not going to work. And I think that the Eagles score some points, but not enough points. I think this is a close, competitive game, defensive struggle. But I got the Patriots going to 9-1. The Eagles going to 5-5. I got the Patriots winning this game 24-17 over the Eagles.
I get the same score as you, Steve. 24-17, Pat. I like Bill. Bill coming off a bye week, gets 2 weeks to prepare for these guys. For the Pats, it's the rematch. That revenge game after the Super Bowl. So, and I saw Jeffrey right now was on the injury report. He's questionable with an ankle injury, so I don't know. I'm gonna assume he probably plays, but we'll see.
I mean, they're gonna need him. I mean, what other weapon? Like, let's just say Alshon Jeffrey's out. Who's your number one, specifically wide receiver?
The Eagles receivers are terrible. Because Deshaun Jackson's out for the year. The Eagles are terrible.
Nelson Aguilar?
Yeah, Nelson Aguilar is absolutely pathetic. Yeah.
Like, no.
And then another wide receiver, Charles D. Johnson, but he's not even that big of a name anyway. So, they have 3 wide receivers that are down right now, possibly. So, I think I know both teams have the bye. I think the Pats, coming off the bye. Sanu, I know they want 2 weeks now to learn the offense. Well, now he's been here for 3 weeks. Learn the offense. I know they want him to be a big part of the offense. He caught 10 catches in his debut with the Pats. So I think the Pats go on the road and they win this one. I think Brady plays well through the air. As we've seen, the Eagles secondary has been banged up now for like 2 years. He'll have success, and Pats will take down the Eagles.
I think Patriots will win this game by a touchdown. I feel like it's going to be, I'll say 27-20 for the Soul fan. Like you said, what weapons do they have for the Eagle-wise passing? Alshon Jeffrey, again, meet Stephon Gilmore. If you're Zach Ertz, if I'm the Patriots, you can maybe mix in like doubling him with like a linebacker, or something, maybe like calling someone. Or I would even be fine kind of like how the Patriots played the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, how they played Travis Kelce. They put J.C. Jackson on him. I'd be kind of fine with that because I think J.C. Jackson could do a pretty good job, although J.C. Jackson needs to kind of stop getting holding and pass interference penalties because, that's no bueno. But if you're the Patriots, I feel like if you could just block this defensive line, which is weird because it has very good talent. Like Brandon Graham is still very good. Fletcher Cox is still very good. Derek Barnett can still give you, like, he's not to their level, but he's solid. And yet this seems like they haven't really been able to get that consistent domination of a pass rush like they did against, like the season that, they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, 2 years ago. But if you're able to block them consistently, you can exploit the linebackers. You can exploit the secondary. And you should be able, on paper, to just, pass whenever you want as long as you're able to block Fletcher Cox.
But that's going to be the issue.
Yeah,
is blocking Cox and Graham is going to be the issue for the Patriots.
Because if you're the Patriots, their offensive line, I think left guard Tooney has been doing pretty good. The center has been doing not great but solid. The right guard Shaq Mason, I feel like is pretty good.
The tackles are the issue. Yeah.
Right tackle Marcus Cannon also he's been solid but a little bit inconsistent. Newhouse is just what's the way I can do without getting kicked off? Just terrible. It's legitimately painful. And I keep seeing things that Brady's had me with the top 5 in terms of clean pocket or something like that, and I'm watching him I don't see that because all I'm seeing is Newhouse getting beaten like a drum on every possession. And come a big time possession, if you're the Eagles and you put in kind of let's say their NASCAR kind of package, how the Giants did back then when they had Justin Tuck and all them. Just you put Brandon Graham on there, you're gonna have to double him, not chip block him. You're gonna have to double him and make someone else beat you.
A big key is they're gonna have to get the ball to the backs. James White is a big key in this game because the Eagles are not, their back 7 is not that good. Their linebackers are okay, but they're not great.
Yeah, and they don't. What's a linebacker they have that has good speed? I mean, I'm pretty sure Zach Brown isn't there anymore.
He's gone. He got
released after, I think he complained if it was Kirk Cousins or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you're able to just block it and mix in and pass him enough, and I'm very interested to see what N'Keal Harry is going to give you. If you're going to have him, you're going to have Edelman, you're going to have Sanu. See, can Dorsett maybe give you the 1 or 2 maybe possible big plays over the top? It's going to be fun to watch. And I know personally as a Patriot fan, I'm just going to get ungodly sick of being oh, and Brady gets strip sacked by Brandon Graham. Oh, and again, and again, and again. And I just love it. I said this before the show to both of you guys. I want so bad. I don't care who it is. I don't even care if it's Brady himself. I don't even care if it's Belichick himself. I don't even care if it's Robert Kraft went on him. I want someone to go after to Lane Johnson after they beat them, hopefully, and just say, "Are you having fun now?"
That would be funny.
I wish, because that is one of the stupidest things someone's ever said. Oh, I have more fun in Philly. So you wouldn't have fun being in, Foxborough, constantly being a top 4 team in the whole NFL. But I'll digress on that because I'll keep going for days. But I think the Patriots will win. It's going to be a good game. I think they will win. I'll say 27-20.
We got the Bengals heading out to Oakland to face the Raiders, and I think John Gruden's done a really good job with this team, and I think they win big. When was the last time you can remember the Raiders were a 10.5-point favorite? And I think they cover pretty easily. I think that Josh Jacobs has a good game.
When they got Jamarcus Russell.
Derek Carr is a really good game, and I think on the flip side for the Bengals, they are absolutely terrible. This defense is awful. The offense is awful too. Ryan Finley's terrible. AJ Green's going to be out again. I feel so bad for that guy. It's like you probably have been stuck on one of the worst teams like in the NFL since you come in to the NFL, and you can't he's a rookie this year.
He's too nice of a guy to be like, get me off this team and trade me.
I think this is a total blowout, and I think Zach Taylor is starting to lose this locker room. He could be gone in 1 year. I got the Raiders beating the Bengals 30-13.
Yeah, I got the Raiders winning this one 31-17. I don't trust the Raiders defense a ton because they are ranked 26 overall, 30th against pass. So
I mean, for their talent, they play hard. Let me give you that. They play hard for their talent level.
Yeah, they do, and I know they've been banged up.
For Abraham, I wanted to see Jonathan
Abraham.
Yeah. First game out was like.
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I'm like the Raiders secondary, they could have 4 or 5 interceptions if not for those penalties, but you
ain't wrong.
Phillip had a rough day, so I see this kind of secondary getting better. They're young, they've gone through their injuries. I just think Derek Carr has a huge day. The Raiders have been able to score some points. They're 13th overall. I know it's not great, but it seems like every week they are getting better. They're scoring points. Josh Jacobs been a great pickup. Of course, we've mentioned it. Seems like every week the last few weeks that Josh Jacobs probably going off in the rookie of the year. So I think Raiders win at home, and they're 6-4 going to New York. The Jets next week, they could be squaring at 7-4 very soon, and squaring around with the Chiefs for the AFC West.
I think the Raiders will win this game big. I think I could see. I'll say 17-point win. First of all, like you said, Bengals are terrible. They're easily the worst team in the league right now, and the Raiders and John Gruden have been surprisingly good this year. I thought maybe they could be to this level maybe next year, but I think it's because Josh Jacobs has performed better than I anticipated his rookie year. I mean, this guy's easily going to clip over 1,000 yards. I mean, he already has 811 yards rushing, 168 carries, 7 touchdowns. So far, he's having a phenomenal rookie year. And as I said before, Darren Waller has been, I feel, one of the biggest surprises of the NFL season with 51 catches, 588 yards receiving, and 3 touchdowns. So he's been coming to that big body tight end that I feel like has always been a necessity for Derek Carr. And really, I mean, it's a necessity for really anyone to have a big body, like sure-handed guy you can go to when you need a first down. And then you've been able to mix in, like, whether it's Tyrell Williams or to someone else. They've been playing really, really good football recently, and the Bengals are just straight up terrible. So, I mean, it's going to be a blowout. They said I could easily see this team going 0-16 without relative an issue being the Bengals, and their head coach will be gone by the end of the season.
And then actually, I forgot to mention, Alex Erickson for the Bengals is questionable, undisclosed injury, and he's really stepped up for them. So they have another wide receiver that's stepped up that's questionable this week.
We got an NFC West matchup in San Francisco as the Cardinals, who are on a 3-game losing streak, travel to San Francisco, who had their first loss in a great game Monday night. And I think this game is a little bit more competitive than people think. I think Chandler Jones with Joe Staley out will get pressure on Jimmy G. I think that the Niners, they're probably going to be without George Kittle. They might be without Emmanuel Sanders, so I don't think their offense puts up a ton of points. But I think on defense, I think that the 49ers D gets pressure on Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray doesn't have as good of a game as he did the first time against the 49ers. And I think that the Niners win this game, and I got them winning it 24-13 over the Cardinals.
I got the Niners winning this one 27-14 over the Cardinals. Niners coming off that rough loss Monday night. That was a great game, and it seemed like every time somebody got momentum, it was a turnover. But other than that, it was a great game. One of the better Monday night games I think I've seen in a while. Like that. I think that was the best one of the season.
It lived up to the hype. That people were saying
it did, and Russell was able to get done. But Niners, I think they won by 2 scores. It's not that tough Thursday night game with the quick turnaround. It was in Arizona, so it was a tough one for the Niners. I know they get up for it going to Arizona, a team that's really struggled. Murray threw his first interception since week 4, and the first time the Cardinals have fumbled all season. They lost a fumble all season. I think Niners will be able to get after Murray, and I think Niners bounce back 27-14.
I have the Niners winning 24-17. Their defense is it's gonna play good. They're gonna be able to rush the passer. It's the Cardinals' O-line versus that phenomenal defensive line for the Niners. You're obviously gonna get pressure at some point, if not, for most of the game. The problem is that drive where the Niners went down to ultimately tie the game to force an overtime, Garoppolo that early in that position could have easily thrown 2 turnovers and the game could have been done right then. And it was like bad though. It wasn't like someone, just jumped the route and they happened to guess right and they were there. I mean, it was bad throws that should have been easy turnovers for the the Seahawks and should have won in the game, but they ultimately did drive him down. And you saw the defense did come up. I don't remember the guy's name, but who forced interception in overtime against Seattle. That was a nice play. He stretched out, picked off the ball. Also, ultimately, we all know Seahawks ended up winning that game. But if George Kittle, I wonder how likely he is to play, because you could see that offense just wasn't the same without George Kittle. I mean, obviously that's most offenses with, their number one, passing, touchdown or passing weapon. So with him out or potentially out, and then, Staley out, see what's going on with Emmanuel Sanders. It's going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as the last time. And last time they won, I think it was the Niners won 28-25. It'll be slightly less scoring, but I think the Niners will win the game by 7.
We got an NFC matchup on Sunday Night Football as the 4-5 Bears travel to LA to face the 5-4 Rams, and 2 teams that won their division last year who have really struggled this year. I think one of the biggest issues for the Rams struggles is they haven't been able to run the ball as well with Todd Gurley, and their offensive line has not been that good. And I think it's going to be the same thing on Sunday night. I think their offense is really going to struggle on Sunday night. I think Khalil Mack and Leonard Floyd are going to get pressure on Jared Goff, and I think they're not going to be able to get enough running the football. But I think the problem is the Bears' offense is absolutely terrible. They can't run the ball. Mitch Trubisky played decent last week, but that was against the Lions. I think he struggles this week. I think in a really low-scoring game where there's probably a defensive touchdown on each side, I got the Rams beating the Bears. The Bears covering, but I got the Rams winning the game 20-16 over the Bears.
Yeah, I have the Bears covering as well. I had this one 20-15. I got the Rams winning at home, Bears covering, but yeah, it could be kind of an ugly type game. Both off, the Bears defense is still really good. This Bears offense is ugly to watch, and just and I heard this the other day. They may get rid of Matt Nagy before they get rid of Trubisky because of the offense, because he's one of those offensive minded. And I was hearing, too, because Matt Nagy does not do what Mitchell Trubisky likes, or like with the schemes or something.
Throw incomplete passes?
Was like
wide open receivers? Is that what Trubisky likes?
That's what I was hearing, but I'm not 100% sure. But I just, you got 20 points. They just, this offensively, there's just nothing good about them. And I think the Rams are at home, and I think they are able to do enough. I don't think Gurley's be able to get going like they did last week, but Goff's got to protect the football. If he throws 3 interceptions again, I think the Bears probably will win. He's got to take care of the football. He really hasn't shown that he's been able to do that the last week, but I think the Rams are able to steal this one at home, and the Bears are going to be sitting at 4-6.
Yeah, I had the Rams winning at 20-17, winning by only 3 points. I think it's literally going to come down to he has to drive the Bears down for a potential, game-tying field goal, and he's just not going to be able to do it because we say the Bears' defense is pretty good, which, they've given up 347 yards total, 253 passing, 94 rushing. the Rams defense is essentially the same in terms of yardage. They're giving up 349 total, 258 passing, and the slightly less being 90.8 against the rush. The difference with this team is the offense. The Rams are averaging just a tear over 100 yards more per game than the Bears. And the problem is when Matt Nagy is able to cook up something that's open, Trubisky always messes up the throw. And do you want to put faith in Trubisky in a close game, or would you rather put faith in Jared Goff in a close game? I feel like for me, the choice would be Jared Goff. And with that defense, in terms of the Rams, has been playing very good once they got in Jalen Ramsey. It's been playing a lot better than I thought it would. I still thought you'd be able to just pick on the other side of the secondary on the other corner. Well, so far the Rams have been able to do a very good job, masking that and, mixing it up however it may be to confuse the other offense. I think it's going to be an ugly game, but I think the Rams will win the game 20-17.
We got the Monday night game in Mexico City as the Chiefs play the Chargers, and I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think Mahomes has a big game, I think, passing. I think that Melvin Gordon has a big game on the ground, and Rivers has a bounce-back week. But at the end of the day, I got Kansas City winning this game close. I got KC beating the Chargers 34-27 on Monday night.
I got the Chiefs winning this one 35-31. I think Rivers plays better than he did last Thursday. They've had now, I think, to be 11 days off between games, and I think Mahomes just goes off. I know the Chargers are 5th against the pass, but I still just think Mahomes is just so good. I think most teams, everyone we've seen has struggled to slow down Mahomes in that offense, and I just don't think the Chargers are going to be able to keep up. I think Gordon's starting to get going, so I think they'll be able to run the ball, but I just think, especially the way the Chiefs lost last week. They had a 99.6% chance to win that game on that third down with a minute 24. They had a 99.6% chance to win that game, and they lost last week. So it's that was the game they should have won. I don't think Detroit will be able to beat them. I think they may have a chance. I just think the Chiefs have too much. I don't trust. I think maybe Rivers 4 or 5 years ago, definitely, but not Rivers. No way Rivers beats them now.
I have the Chiefs winning a close, high-scoring game. I feel I'll say 37-30 game. I feel like the Chiefs are going to put up points. It's the Chiefs. Their passing offense is insanely good. Especially, obviously, we go over the weapons. It's Tyreek Hill, Markel Hardman, Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce. It's insane. You have 4 legitimate high-end weapons for Mahomes, who's one of the best, if not the best, quarterback in the league right now, going up against the Chargers defense, which passing-wise, we're only giving up 223 yards. So that's a strength of that defense. Which one's going to give? Is it the Chiefs offense or the Chargers defense? I'll lean more towards the Chargers defense, buckling during the game. And if you're the Chargers, the Chiefs giving up 150 yards roughly, rushing yards per game. Just pound ball, Melvin Gordon. You keep the Chiefs offense on the field. That's shown Chiefs cannot stop the run and non-existent their run defense. You're able to keep that offense off the field. That obviously is going to help your defense. You don't have to go up against one of the top offenses in the league. It frustrates a young quarterback being Mahomes. They're going to have to try to have the mentality more and more. We got to score every possession, because we're not going to have as many possessions as we anticipated, which means you put stress on them, and that could possibly be, turnover, whether it's, a strip sack from, Joey Bosa or Melvin Ingram, or, an interception, because corner-wise, they're pretty good for being the Chargers. It's going to be a fun game. Could be a very exciting game. I'll say this could be possibly the game of the week, although I'll still lean towards the Texans game, but I think that the Chiefs will win this game. I'll say by 7 points.
Before we go to college football, we have Robbie Clark, who joined us on Facebook Live, and he does a great job in the Sports Cave. And he made a long Facebook message last night about the Astros stealing signs. And in my opinion here, yes, you shouldn't steal signs, but I think it's happened for years in baseball. You remember even the Giants back in the 50s.
You can do it legally.
Yeah, but
just don't do it illegally.
Yeah, but I think it's not as big of a deal as people think. All teams try to get a competitive advantage, and I feel like this is them getting a competitive advantage instead of them cheating. They could be punished for this, but I think this is the Astros getting a competitive advantage.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I think it was like the changeup. They were banging trash cans. It seems weird. And then I heard the camera too.
Yeah, it literally, this is what it sounded like. If it was a changeup, you'd hear, well, like imagine like a bat hitting a trash can. It would sound like this. And then if it wasn't a changeup, you hear nothing. Then change up again. That's what it was. Yeah. And it was real time. It wasn't like there was a big delay. It was like instant, like, okay, no, change up. That's what it was. Yeah, that's cheating.
It's weird. I know they're not going to take the World Series from them. I know none of that's going to happen. They may, I don't know if they're going to put an asterisk. I don't know. It was weird that Matt Fiers actually
Spygate come MLB.
It was weird that Matt Fiers actually came out and called them out on it, especially because 2 years ago. But yeah, it was 2 years ago. It was in the past. It's all over with. Would it change the outcome of anything? Who knows? I know the Yankee fans, you kind of hold,
Yeah, you'd like to think so. If you're one of the teams that lost them during that playoff run, you like to think, oh, well, they didn't do this. But you never really, obviously, you never know for sure.
Yeah, but going,
But imagine real quick, imagine Fiers if he has to pitch in Houston. Ooh, good Lord. I don't care where I am. I'll be watching that game. Yeah. I'll find the way.
Yeah, but, we can go back to that Yankee series back in 2017. They couldn't even hit off Verlander anyway. So it's like they scored one run anyways. They cheated or not. They weren't scoring off Verlander.
Yeah, they were just the better. The Houston was the better team.
They were the better. Yeah, they were the better team.
But the thing was, what about the Dodgers? If I'm not mistaken, did that World Series series go 7 games?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
against them. So, if that happened in the World Series, make a 1-game difference. Dodgers could end up winning that that World Series, and maybe the Astros aren't thought of as like, maybe the Astros are thought of differently than, as they are now being, a team that, won the one, and then, they made a great run. They just lost to the Nationals this year, but maybe they're one of those teams of, you're one of the more talented teams, we've seen, because they're pitching wise, they're phenomenal. Hitting wise, they have talent for days. But if you never won a World Series, maybe they're thought of as a great team that could never get it done. But my problem with it is, I'm fine with you being able to get signs. Like if you have someone on second base and able to decipher, okay, when you do this, it's a fastball. When you do this, it's changeup, it's slider, it's whatever. Maybe you can tell them, okay, it's going to be, an inside pitch, an outside pitch. If you can tell it from second base, I'm fine with you getting signs. However you do, as long as it's illegal. Now, I don't know the rule for sure, but if it's illegal to have a camera in center field pointing dead straight at the catcher, being able to tell in real time what the signal is going to be, then that's illegal. Then you need to punish them somehow, because AJ Hinch was the manager, obviously still there. A lot of the people were that were there at that point were there now. So someone has to know something, because there's no way there's one rogue person doing that. If that's true, that does not exist. That does not happen. So people know. Now, obviously, you're going to take the title away from them. No, you're not doing that. That's not going to happen. You have to find them, and you have to talk with them in terms of, I'll say, especially with AJ Hinch, and be like, how much do you know? Did you know it at all? Did you know nothing? Did you know it all? Did you know 50%? You have to talk to them, and because there's no way this can go unpunished if it happens to be, if it happens in true, because obviously, allegedly, we don't know for sure at this point. Something has to happen, because if you did it illegally and it ended up winning you or helping you win a World Series, something's got to happen. I don't care whether it's fines and/or suspension. Something's got to happen, because otherwise, what would stop the Yankees from doing it? Oh, they didn't get in trouble? Put a camera in center field. What's going to stop the Red Sox from doing it? What's going to stop any team from doing it? If you're not going to get in trouble, guess what? Every single team is now going to put a camera in center field pointing dead straight at the catcher. And then at that point, welcome to the new MLB.
Exactly. So we're going to shift over to college football, and we'll go over last night's rankings. And pretty much there was one big controversy, and that was Georgia being ahead of Alabama, and I'll get to that. But if we look at the college football rankings, you got LSU number 1, Ohio State number 2, Clemson number 3, Bama. No, Georgia number 4. So that's the top 4. 5 Bama, 6 Oregon, 7 Utah, 8 Minnesota, 9 Penn State, and 10 Oklahoma. And then Oklahoma plays this week Baylor, who's number 13. And here's the thing. There is no way at all that Bama should be below Georgia. Georgia lost at home to South Carolina, who's not even going to make a bowl game. And Bama loses to LSU, and they're out of the college football playoff. That's an absolutely terrible job by the committee to put Bama below Georgia. That's absolutely terrible. It makes no sense at all. There's no logical sense to put Bama behind Georgia. There's no way that should happen. There's no way Georgia should be number 4 after losing to South Carolina, and Bama should be number 5 after losing to the best team in the country, LSU. That makes absolutely no sense at all. This is a completely terrible job of the committee putting those top 4 teams together. And I gotta say, let me think. Yes, if Georgia beats LSU for the SEC title, yes. But as of right now, you look at the eye test, Bama is not. Bama is one of the top 4 teams in the country, and Georgia's not. It was an absolutely terrible job of the committee putting Bama behind Georgia.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple variables of why. I think.
Yeah, I have an idea why they did it.
Yeah, no, I was going back and forth. I didn't really care who went 4 or 5 in that spot. I could see it both ways. I could see Bama being 4. I could see Georgia 5. Or I could see, as it is, Georgia 4, Alabama 5. And I think Georgia gets the 4 because of... Now, we've seen the committee... The perfect example is Ohio State. We've seen the committee punish teams for losing big. And like Ohio State, 28-point loss to Purdue, 31-point loss to Iowa. We've seen that hurt. We've seen teams lose... But like a close game against South Carolina where Georgia, yes, did not look good at all. We've seen the committee kind of give you a little bit of a break for that. We've kind of seen that over the years. We've seen teams kind of lose a close game, and they don't penalize you a ton for that. And I think the thing is here is they penalize. Well, I wouldn't say penalize because really Alabama's best win is number 24, or it was number 24 Texas A&M. They're not even in the top 25 this week. So they don't even have a win at the top 25 team. I know Georgia beat Notre Dame, who got absolutely destroyed by Notre Dame got destroyed by Michigan a couple weeks ago. And they did beat Florida, who's in the top, or they're 11th. So, and I think they got the 2 big wins, and I think that is why Georgia's on top of Alabama at the moment, because Alabama hasn't beaten anybody. Their best win's a Texas A&M team.
Yeah, but Justin, look at the loss. Georgia lost to South Carolina.
Yeah, but the committee, I don't think penalized. The committee does not penalize.
Alabama crushed South Carolina. Okay, they did. Yeah, but come on, it's absolutely ridiculous how you would put Georgia. If you look at the eye test, who's a better team, Alabama or Georgia?
Alabama has looked like
Alabama is clearly a better team than Georgia. Yeah. There's no way you can put Georgia ahead of Alabama.
But this is what I think the committee's doing: is they're setting up Alabama to be able to get in, because I think everyone, if you're outside of a Georgia fan, is going to pick LSU to beat Georgia. So at that point, LSU beats Georgia. Georgia goes away. Guess what? There's an open spot for Bama. You're essentially putting them, like, you're lining them up right then and there in order to make it. I mean, now if LSU ends up losing to Georgia, I mean, that's going to be chaos. Because we didn't put 3 SEC teams in there? No. Yeah. Are you going to put LSU in there? Yeah. Do you have to probably put the SEC championship team in there? Yeah. And then what are you going to do? Put Bama in there? You can't. I don't think you can't put.
You can't,
because especially if it's a team like Oregon, like, runs the table. Let's just say the top 6 teams right now being LSU, not in this order, but LSU, Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, Oregon. Let's just say that stays like that. Georgia beats LSU. You keeping Ohio State out? No, obviously they're going to be in there. You going to keep Clemson out if they stay undefeated? Guess what? No, they're going to be in there. Are you going to keep the Pac-12 championship? Let's say it's Oregon. Are you going to keep them out of the playoffs? No. So guess what? Right then and there, you have 5 teams. Who are you going to kick out? Ohio State, they're undefeated? That's not happening. Clemson, maybe. The Pac-12 championship, being, let's say, Oregon in this case, maybe. Or the SEC championship. A winner in this case being Georgia, maybe. You're gonna kick someone. Someone's gonna be mad. They better hope, for the love of God, Georgia does not beat LSU. Because at this point, guess what? Good luck. You're gonna get destroyed either way if this folds. If that ends up happening, it's gonna be chaos. Now, for fans, of college football, people that like to talk about sports, I mean, that's going to be solid gold. That's just content all day, every day, and we're going to love it. We're going to eat up. We're going to talk about it, and it's going to be fun. But if you're the committee, your life is hell. Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's going into that, that would be chaos if Georgia knocks off LSU. But Alabama right now, they need Auburn to knock off Georgia anyways this week. They need to be the biggest Auburn fan because they need Auburn to be sitting there in that top 10 when they play in the Iron Bowl in a few weeks. That's what Alabama needs, and I don't think Alabama I don't think has ever cheered for Auburn before, but they will be big Auburn fans the next couple of weeks. Because I think that's going to help out Alabama. The thing is that could hurt them right now is with Oregon and Utah sitting right there. The committee kind of has given the favorite to championship, to winners that won their conference championship. Alabama could be sitting at home championship weekend, and if it's Oregon, Utah sitting there 6-7, Oregon,
whoever wins that's probably going to be in there, right?
Probably jump Alabama, and I know.
But didn't they? Sorry, but didn't they put Bama in 1 year and they didn't even play in the SEC championship? Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the year they won the national title. If I'm not mistaken.
And then they did it again in 2011. The BCS they even play, they jumped to number 2, and that's why they got this system. But then the other thing is, you can say is Alabama, the tiebreaker of Auburn plays Alabama. We don't know who's going to win that, but Auburn beat Oregon. That tiebreaker could go into effect too, but then does the championship, the conference championship, I think would be a higher standard than a head-to-head. It's interesting. We still got a couple of weeks, but I don't mind, I didn't mind Georgia being the 4 because we've seen that the committee kind of hasn't penalized you for a loss. I know it's a South Carolina team that could possibly be 4-8 at the end of the season, but they lost a tight game and they didn't get blown out. We've seen committee hurt you if they've been penalized. They don't really penalize you for a tight, close loss, even though Georgia looked awful that day.
Yeah, and the saving grace for the committee and then keeping Bama in there is the thing that they could always fall back on. Now, whether it's right or wrong, is that Tua wasn't fully healthy. They could always fall back on if Tua was healthy, they would be in LSU. They can always fall back on that at this point. And at this point, if it just stays like chalk how it is, although we'll kick out Georgia because let's say LSU beats them. When you have 5 teams in there, when you have 5 teams, like there's someone that the team of the level of Bama, which I think is a top 4 team, but you lost LSU. It is what it is. You're not kicking out LSU if they stay undefeated. You're not kicking out Ohio State if they stay undefeated. You want to kick out Clemson if they're undefeated? No. Are you going to kick out the Pac-12 champion? It's like someone's going to get mad. And I'll say if they do kick out Bama, Paul Fonbahn's going to have a fun time.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to... I might actually tune and watch a whole show at that point, the next day these things come out. But, you can see teams, maybe make a run out of Penn State, Oklahoma maybe, Utah, Minnesota. It's actually fun. You have legitimate teams that could make a possible run at it, and then like I said, if Auburn keeps winning, they make it, they can make a run. It'd be interesting to see what happens if they beat Bama. It's just, it makes college football so much interesting, that the fact that they implement this playoff thing, a couple, 5 years ago, 6 years, whatever it is at this point. It's fun instead of that terrible terrible stuff that was just god awful. And it's going to be fun, and I think it's going to be chaos, and that's going to be fun to watch for me.
So we'll go to the games. And the first game is we got Indiana, who they're not in the college football top 25. They're in the AP top 25. I don't know why. They're 7-2, but I don't know why they're in the top 25. They go to Penn State to face the Nittany Lions, and I think Penn State wins this by a couple. They rebound this week, win it by a couple scores. I think Journey Brown and Noah Kane run the ball well. I think Sean Clifford didn't have a good game last week, has a bounce back week, and Penn State's defense controls the game. I got a 27-13 over Indiana this week.
Yeah, Indiana come off a bye. I think the first time they're in the AP top 25 since 2007, I think I saw. So it's been a while for Indiana. And they're interesting because both their quarterbacks have been banged up, but now they're both healthy. So they use Michael Penix Jr. and Peyton Ramsey. They both have thrown over for their 1,000 yards this year. They'll both play. It's very interesting. They don't run the ball very well. They're 96th in the country. So Penn State can kind of drop back and kind of force Indiana to throw the ball. They're 15th in the country in the passing game. C.V. Scott, though, for running back, does average 5 yards a carry, but they don't really rely on him a ton. I think Penn State's rushing defense is so good. And the thing is, Penn State had chances the win last week. They had 518 yards of offense last week. Still, turnovers beat them pretty much last week. We saw they
then that rough start. Didn't they go down with 14-0?
14-2, yeah. And but and I think they're able to bounce back. But Indiana's defense, they're ranked 17th in the country. They're good defensively. Again, this is kind of the huge test. They did play Ohio State and they lost 51-10. I know Penn State. We'll see Penn State, Ohio State in a couple of weeks, but I think Penn State's able to get it done at home in a bounce back week. I think it's 28-17. I think Indiana's able to keep it closer a little bit, but I think Penn State kind of pulls away late.
Yeah, I'll say Penn State wins by 17. I think it's going to be kind of the late touchdown to put them up 17 and just ice the game away. If you're Penn State and you lost to Minnesota, that just kind of, I wouldn't say it crippled in your playoffs. Hopes are done, but I mean, it puts you, I think, right on that edge where, obviously, if you lose another game, you have no chance. It's not going to happen.
They got to beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
Their only chance.
That's their only chance that you have. And again, if that happens, welcome to chaos. I love it. But Penn State, I think if you lose Minnesota, you got to bounce back. And again, it's a constant. I'll say every time. Show it's a fluke. Show the team that you want to show the committee and everyone that you actually are. And you need to dominate Indiana. Now, it's going to be easier said than done. Like you said, Indiana defense, pretty good this year. If you're the Penn State Nittany Lions, show that your defense is dominant. Show what your offense could be running at peak form. And you should win this game. And I think they will win this game by 17.
Navy and Notre Dame this week. Navy likes to run the ball, but I think Notre Dame limits that, and I think Notre Dame wins by a touchdown.
Yeah, it should be a good one. This game's been played every year. Yeah, this is the longest interrupted college football rivalry going on. It's in every year since 1972, but it's been all Notre Dame, 76-13-1. But of course, that game of the century back in 06, I think it was, when Navy finally snapped the 44-game losing streak against them.
He probably went crazy.
Yeah, but in the triple option accord Navy runs, they're averaging 40 a game. It's been a great turnaround for Ken. I can't even say his last name. I'm not even trying to pronounce his last name. Last year they gave up, I think, over 33 points a game on defense. This year they only gave up 18. They've really done a good job this year. They're 7-1. They're still sitting there, ranked 24th. Trying to get to that New Year's 6. I think it's going to end this week. But the triple, Notre Dame sees this every year. They are 62nd against the run this year. I think Michael Perry is going to be able to have some success on the ground. The quarterback averaging 6 yards to carry. But I just think Notre Dame's too much at home in South Bend. I think it's going to be 28-21. I think they need to be able to keep it close. I think they could control the game or control the ground game. Time possession. I just think Notre Dame's got too much for them, and the Irish will survive. Well, win at home, and it actually could go down as a nice win for Notre Dame as Navy's in the top 25.
I think that Notre Dame will win this by 10. I think the one saving grace that they have that, because normally teams never face this. This is, how many teams run the triple option at this point? The way
it's just the military, because Paul Johnson retired at Georgia Tech, so they don't run it anymore. Yeah,
so it's like you're going to see this every once in a while. The same grace for Notre Dame is, like you said, they faced them ever since how long?
1972.
That's 1972. So it's been a while. So you've seen it every year since 1972. So you've been there, done that. You have tape on it, so you can be willing to prepare against it more than a traditional team that doesn't see it every year. So it's going to be interesting to see how much they're going to be able to force them, because facing an offense like this, if you could just force them into, I'll say anything more than like 3rd and 5, you can have success, because then they're going to have force the pass ball, which is obviously not what they want to do. I mean, they're averaging 99 yards passing per game and 357 rushing.
The thing is, I saw Navy play a couple weeks in UConn. They will once in a while go to the air. They'll run a play action, and if your corners are sleeping, it's a touchdown every time.
Yeah, because it feels like the only routes these receivers run in this thing is like it's either going to be like a curl route or you're running deep. Yeah. And like you said, the corner seems like, oh, it's another run, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, and then nope, they got beat, touchdown. But it's gonna be funny to watch. But I think Notre Dame will win this game by 10.
Got the big game this week as Georgia heads to Auburn. I think this is a defensive struggle, but Bo Nix has not played well against good teams this year. He struggled against LSU. He struggled against Florida. I think he struggles again against Georgia. I'm taking Georgia to win this game close. I'm going 23-20 Georgia to stay the number 4 team in the college football playoff.
Yeah, as we kind of said a few minutes ago, Alabama's the biggest Auburn fans going into this week. And I think Georgia on the road, I think they're able to pull it out 21-17. Bo Nix has been a different quarterback at home than on the road. His QBR on the road is a 50. At home, it's a 75. It still isn't great, but again, he's a true freshman. You got to give him some time. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. Again, give him the time. He's a true freshman. He's still 18 years old. I think, but the fun matchup of this is going to be Auburn's defensive line against Georgia's offensive line. Auburn's got 23 sacks in the year. Georgia's only given up 5. And for Auburn, the All-American D tackle, Derek Brown, can he get pressure on Jake Fromm and that O-line? Just like kind of South Carolina did. They forced Fromm to make turnovers. Make Georgia have to throw the ball, because as we've seen, when Fromm has thrown over 35 times, they have not won a game yet in his career. Deep South those rivalry. It's been a close series. It's 59-56. Georgia with 8 ties, so it's been a very competitive rivalry game. I think Georgia does pull this one out on the road, but it's going to be tight. I'm not too calm about it. Auburn's played tough. I know they haven't really beat anybody besides Oregon, but they've been in a lot of close games. They had LSU on the ropes. I'm going to change my pick. No, I'm going to go Georgia. I'll stick with Georgia. I thought about it, but
yeah, it's tough. It is tough to pick because it's in Auburn, which is never a tough. Never an easy place to play. It's always going to be tough, especially when they're 7-2, but they're still ranked number 12 right now. So they're still going to be a tough team to face against Georgia, who their passing game is just not explosive. You don't have that big time weapon down the field where you can mix in the play action and beat them over time. Right now they're averaging 215 yards rushing per game. Swift is right now getting so far this season 921 yards rushing and giving you 7 touchdowns. I thought Fromm would maybe this year would take a step up into maybe be one of the top quarterbacks, in the upcoming draft, because I kind of like his makeup. It's just, for some reason, it's just kind of not clicking this year in terms of like the deep down the field passing. But didn't they lose 3 wide?
They lost his top 5 lead receivers last year, so it's kind of been a struggle.
Yeah, to see kind of like get the continuity behind it. You only have so much time to, and all that. It's college kids that are becoming men. So the mental makeup is not the same NFL, so you never know what's going to happen in a big game in a tough place to play at Auburn. But right now, Bo Nix, it's not consistent. It's just some games, like we saw the game, opening game against Oregon, played relatively good, came up in that big moment through the touchdown. And then there's just some games where it's just like, dude, what are you doing? It looks like he's almost lost at some point. Well, he said he's young, it's going to happen, but against a big time school like Georgia, you need to play better. I don't think he's going to be able to do that, and Georgia needs to win this game to show people, kind of like us, where we're kind of like, why is Georgia over Bama? If you win this game, this is going to show in their eyes that they should be over Bama and be one of the top 4 teams right now in the playoffs.
Big Big Ten game this week as Minnesota takes their undefeated record to Iowa, and I think this is the week Minnesota gets beat. I think that Iowa runs the ball on them. I think Iowa gets pressure on the quarterback, and I think this is going to be a close, competitive game, but I got Iowa winning it. I got Iowa winning it 24-20 in the upset. Kirk Ferentz beats another undefeated team. Remember what he did to Penn State years ago? Remember what he did to Michigan in 2016? I think he beats Ohio State a couple years ago too, and I think he beats another undefeated team at home. Another undefeated team goes down in Kinnick. I got the Hawkeyes 24-20 over Minnesota to give them their first loss and probably set up a huge game the Saturday after Thanksgiving against Wisconsin.
I am going Minnesota, and I wish I did last week. I wanted to. I couldn't pull the trigger on myself. I just could not do it. I think this could potentially be one of those games where after a huge win like this and you kind of don't show up, but for some reason, I just believe in PJ Fleck. I just believe that whatever
he's saying is working.
Yeah, and I think whatever he says Saturday afternoon in that pregame speech or whatever, I just think this team comes out, they find a way to win 21-17. They're playing for the Floyd of Rosedale, the Pig. Iowa's kind of controlled this thing lately. 4 straight wins. Minnesota has not gone Iowa State once in 1999, so they're due to go in there and win. I did not like Nate Stanley in a big game this year. I thought he was going to be a guy that could help his draft stock this year a little bit, but I know he's kind of a quarterback he's kind of an old school quarterback, not really a big mobile guy. But Iowa's defense is 11th right now in the country. I think Minnesota's going to struggle. Rashad Bateman, again, they had 200 yards receiving last week. Iowa's got to be able to control him, shut him down. You cannot let him run wild. But I think Minnesota defense was not great. They did force turnovers. They forced turnover when they had to. They gave up over 500 yards of offense. They gave up 500 yards last week. I think Iowa's going to struggle to run the ball. Minnesota is also 16th ranked defensively in the pass game. I think Minnesota is able to pull it out because I don't like this Iowa team at the moment. I don't like the way they've played against top teams. They've really struggled to move the ball, and I think they're going to struggle in Minnesota to move the ball. Minnesota 21-17.
I have Minnesota winning a close 7-point game. It's kind of like how you said. I think they'll come out flat maybe the first quarter, maybe the first half, but then kind of wake up and then they'll end up pulling out, because the way that you played against Penn State, to me, that was impressive. You saw Bateman doing, because you said he had wasn't over 200 yards on 7 catches or something like that. I think he had 2 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. That is a big time game against a big time team, and I think if you could keep this momentum, like you said, something that their head coach is saying is it's working. Whatever, I don't know what it is, like what he's saying, but it's just clicking at the right time. And I think right now they're just a red hot team, and I think they will win. It's going to be a close game, low score. I'll say like a 24-17. I think they will win. Minnesota will win by a touchdown, but it's going to be another fun game, and we'll see if they win this game. What is this going to do for their playoff chances? How high is it going to put them up? It's going to create a really fun and interesting playoff scenarios.
We got a huge game Saturday night as Oklahoma travels to undefeated Baylor, but I think Baylor really hasn't played anyone that good, and I think Oklahoma wins this by 2 scores. I think Jalen Hurts has a huge game. I'm saying like 42-28. I'm going Oklahoma to knock Baylor from the ranks of the unbeaten.
I'm calling the Baylor upset. They have not played well. Both teams have not played well the last couple of weeks. The difference in this game is that Oklahoma's starting D lineman, and probably their All-American Kenneth Mann, is out for the rest of the season, with running back Trey Sermon's out for the rest of the year. I think that makes the difference in this game. Oklahoma kind of in the fourth quarter, they went up 42-21. And they kind of took the foot off the gas last week. They almost lost Iowa State at home. Their defense was playing decent. They were forcing turnovers the first couple weeks. They haven't really done that lately. And it looks like they've returned to the old habits. And Baylor's they've been decent. Charlie Brewer's been decent this year. I thought he was going to play a little bit better. But Baylor is unlike any other Big 12 team. Defense is first. They're only giving up, I think, 19 points a game. Their defense first. They're not like most Big 12 teams that they're going to just score, go 100 miles per hour and score every, 2 minutes up and down the field. And I think that's why Baylor's able to get done. They're averaging 180 yards on the ground. Oklahoma is giving up 52, but they're 52 in the country. They struggled against it last week. I think they gave up over 100 last week. And they gave up defensively 497 yards to Kansas State. They gave up 477 last week to Iowa State. I think they do the same thing that Kansas State did, just ground and pound, time of possession, because they're not one of those teams. I think they control the ball for 35, 36 minutes, keep Jalen Hurts off the field. And I'll say this too, Baylor's the only shot the Big 12 has to get to the playoffs. I feel like Oklahoma's done. I don't think they have any chance unless an epic chaos happens. There's no chance. I do worry about, this is Baylor's toughest test. They haven't played anybody. They have not played great lately. But I love what Matt Rule's done, and I've heard rumors that he may get an NFL job. I don't know. He signed a contract extension, so I don't really believe it too much. But I think Baylor's able to do enough, and they get the win at home, 38-35. It's bold, but I feel like they have a good chance. I am worried about it. I am nervous, but I feel like Baylor gets it done.
Well, how you were saying in a Big 12 game, that defense first, their game against TCU before overtime was 9-9. You think you'd ever say that in a Big 12 game? You'd think it might be 49-49, if anything, and then ultimately they won the 3 overtimes and won 29-23 against TCU. I just think right now, Oklahoma, you need to, because like you said, their chance of making the playoffs is not good. Like, there's a chance because you're only one loss. And like you said, there's potential for chaos. It's college football. You never just look at 2007 season. There's potential for chaos. If Oklahoma can win this game, and I feel like could win a big time game and dominate, let's say by like 17, 21, if not more, that could really bolster their playoff chances. And I think with Jalen Hurts, he's been playing like one of the better players in all of college football right now. I mean, he's getting just 869 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns rushing, and passing wise, 2,742, 24 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So right there, he's getting 39 touchdowns with only 49. Or sorry, my brain just went to mush. 39 total touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and he's averaging, or not averaging, but total yards is. It's like good lord, my math. It's like 3,600 roughly, 3,700 in that ballpark. So he's playing next level talent right now, showing that maybe the system of Alabama was maybe holding him back potentially. We'll see. CeeDee Lamb's having an outstanding season, 383 yards, 13 touchdowns. But it's gonna be a fun game because you're gonna see, I think, like, I don't want to say old school Big 12 thinking with the offense because, I think it's only really Baylor doing the defensive stuff. With Oklahoma's thinking about offense, and then Baylor with, having a pretty good defense this year. It's going to be fun to watch, but I think that Jalen Hurts just being the best player on the field, eventually he'll end up pulling away. And I'll say that they'll win. I'll say they'll win by 10 points.
We'll quickly wrap up the show talking about some college basketball. We had some news from yesterday. Obviously, Kentucky getting upset to Evansville, and James Wiseman playing while he was ruled ineligible by the NCAA. I think my first take on Kentucky, this just proves to you that John Calipari is not on the elite level of coaches. You cannot lose a game and be put on the elite level of coaches. And with the James Wiseman situation, I think Penny Hardaway is taking a major risk by playing him right now. I think it could even not result in vacated wins. It probably could result in forfeits.
Yeah, I'll get in that, and I'll talk about Kentucky. That is very interesting because now they go after the NCAA now with getting this waiver that he could play. The NCAA, if this all goes and he's ruled ineligible, then the NCAA could say, Memphis, you're ineligible for the NCAA tournament because you use an ineligible player. They could knock him out of the NCAA tournament. I would have not played him against Illinois, Chicago, because as we've seen, they destroyed him. Last night he got in foul trouble. They lost to Oregon. He didn't play. When he played well. That was a huge risk. And I understand Penny was a booster. He was a booster at Memphis. I understand what he was trying to do. He's not the coach there yet. It's interesting because we haven't seen anything like this. I don't remember anything ever like this. It's going to be interesting what happens. But Memphis could be, because now that I really think the NCAA will knock them out of the NCAA tournament and say you're ineligible for this because they're trying to hit, strike back at the NCAA, and whenever you do that, it's not good.
Yeah, imagine like a 1 or a 2 seed come tournament time, and they're like, nah, goodbye. Yeah, imagine how that's going to just shake everything up at that point.
Yeah, and that Kentucky loss last night, I think Calipari is one of the most overrated coaches in the country, and this is why I don't like 9 freshmen coming in and committing. I don't like this one and done stuff because when you have a bunch of freshmen who have never been, I know they just knocked out Michigan State in a close game, but when you're a 30-point favorite at home in a tight game like that, and it's all freshmen, and you don't have that senior that's ever been there and has gone through this, who can take over a game?
The ball plays hot potato at that point. Like, you pass it to one guy, he's like, no, you take it, and that goes to the other guy, and then no one is willing to commit.
Yeah, and for Kentucky, I felt like they didn't have a big guy. Evansville could slow down Kentucky, and they just kept. And you could kind of see they were second half. They were scared. I felt like a little bit. Ashton Higgins, who was like 1 for 8, did not play well at all. Got to the free throw line a couple times, but Evansville just kept calling in KJ Riley, a kid I've never really heard of until last night, shot the ball lights out, and then Sean Cuffliff, who was Sam Cuffliff, who he was a I think he was at Kansas. He was at Kansas before he transferred. He wasn't playing much at Kansas, so he's been in a kind of big environment like that. Comes off the bench and puts up 17 on him. They weren't scared, and I don't know if you guys saw after the game, Evansville's bus. They were all. They got the LSU treatment Saturday night. Crazy. I love to see it because I don't like John Calipari as a coach, but that's one of the reasons that's a disadvantage of having the one and done kids. You don't have that senior.
Why don't you like Calipari though? Is it just because you think he's overrated, or
I think he is? And then he's been busted twice for cheating at UMass and Memphis, so that's why too he's been busted twice.
Yeah. So. I think I won't spend much time on the Kentucky thing because like you said, I think he just shows every time when this happens that he is just. He is overrated because if I'm not mistaken, the one national title he's won was with Anthony Davis.
And then UConn knocked him off twice, which is beautiful.
Yeah, it's like it's like Anthony Davis. You're playing with a god essentially in college basketball. Like you should win it. You finally did. I mean, unless you finally got the Dan Marino treatment of you're good but never won anything. Off your back, but. With Memphis, like you said, that's a big risk. I mean, that's just saying, a whole lot of non-repeatable things to the NCAA. Like, we don't care. And at the same point, I will say, like, the NCAA is probably one of the most corrupt things you'll see.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, it's a risk for Memphis to take what they did, but I love it because it's just like, we want to, like, who are you to tell us? Like, the NCAA is always corrupt in every single thing. I mean, who believes a single thing that they ever say or do? Like now they did the thing with the fair play to path, how they finally just like folded to it. They're going to find a way to work around it. It's NCAA. Congrats. That's what they do every time. And
then the last thing I just remember, this came back in my mind. The James Wiseman lawyer said they were straight up with the NCAA about this. They told them months ago about this. So the other weird thing is why the NCAA wait till. Well, I'm not surprised because the NCAA always waits till something happens. Like they'll wait till the middle of the season to drop this. So that's the other thing is they've already kind of been straight up with the NCAA about it. That's the other thing that kind of. Well, then why is the NCAA doing it now?
It's it's good timing for them.
Yeah, that's why. But
like I feel like maybe to make the max amount of noise and possible effect on Memphis, let's say, to then lay the groundwork for possibly stuff in the come tournament time. And if you're I mean, I love it because, like I said, it's just telling NCAA, we're going to do what we want, like, get over it. And I respect that because I don't like the NCAA. Like I said before, they're corrupt in every sense of the word. I love it.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for Sports Talk with RKJ this week. For my co-host Justin D'Onofrio and Kyle Galuli, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week talking Week 12 of the NFL season and Week 13 of the college football season. Have a great weekend, everybody.